Hello.
Hi there.
So, Deanna, we just saw the video of your daughter, and it was some experience that you had.
Yes, it was.
And she was 24 weeks, right?
24 weeks, yeah.
So, I've explained to you that we're trying to do some educational pieces for nurses, and if you were to say that you had a frustrating experience that maybe could have been handled differently, what was the most frustrating thing that happened while you were in the NICU?
Probably the most frustrating was at a time where my daughter was put on a medication that basically paralyzed all of her muscles because her lungs were so damaged by the ventilator that if they didn't do that, she wouldn't make it. So it was a very highly stressful time. In fact, we were busy planning funeral arrangements and everything. We just really didn't think she was going to make it. But the only intervention that would save her life was putting her on this medication, Pavulon. And one of the very first days, she could only be on it for 10 days. Mm-hmm. One of the very first days, there was a nurse who was assigned to take care of my baby on Pavulon. And one of the first comments she made to me was, "Wow, I have never taken care of a baby on Pavulon before." And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh. And you know, it was 12 years ago, so I can't remember, but I imagine that I made a fuss, and I imagine that she didn't take care of the baby that day.
Mm-hmm. Were you, if that nurse were going to continue to care for your baby, would you have left her there? Would you have gone home that night?
No. No, I think I probably said I don't want her to take care of the baby anymore during that 10 precious days. Mm-hmm. And this is a make or break situation. She's going to live or she's going to die. Mm-hmm. And you're telling me you've never, and they're fragile. Mm-hmm. You know, if the ventilator tube comes out, that's it. So someone who's going to say something like that, I'd be concerned they wouldn't respond to some of the monitors going off or something, and then, you know, that's it. There's no going back from there. So I was not comfortable with her care.
And did you, so it was especially important for Allison to not have her tube come out because she had a very unusual condition where mm-hmm. her trachea was actually torn. Mm-hmm. So she had the surgery to repair that. Yeah. And then they had to keep her on the Pavulon, and even a accidental extubation could have been the end for her. So she is really a miracle.
Yes, she is.
So if you're a PA.
Yes.
Did that work for or against you?
Some days for, some days against. I think that a lot of what happens in the NICU is not terminology or lab values or what have you that I understand. It's certainly not my area of expertise. So I do feel, because I was trained in the medical field, sometimes I didn't get the explanations that maybe would have still made things a little bit clearer to mm-hmm. me. Mm-hmm. But otherwise I think it helped because nothing got by me. I always asked to look at her chart. I looked at the lab values, and some of those lab values led to my pushing for a specialist to come look at Allison. Uh-huh. That maybe would not have happened otherwise. So yeah, I think depending on the day it worked mm-hmm. for her against me.
And so was the staff responsive when you wanted that information? Because I know that sometimes looking at charts, you know, they want to make sure that someone's with you while you look at the chart so that people aren't misreading abbreviations and so on. Did they pretty much give you free rein with that? No,
there was definitely not free rein. I really had to push, and when I was able to look at it, I tried to get through as much of the recent information as I could, but no, I'm sure that I was annoying.
Well, you know, when you think that you have this little precious baby and your job at that time.
No one will advocate for her like Mom.
That's
absolutely
true. So the nurses are in a room with sometimes they're in that same room for 16 hours, and most NICUs are open rooms, and so they spend the 16 hours or 12 hours or whatever their shift is together. And did you ever feel as though there was a time where the children were not attended to in a way they should have been, or was that not your experience so much?
No, I think there were definitely times when, you know, things got real busy or what have you, and I think the rule was that there always had to be one nurse left in the, when they're in the intensive side, that can be 6 babies, 7, 8 babies, and those are critical babies. So one nurse would be left. I always thought, what happens if something goes wrong with 2 babies at the same time?
Yeah.
And I did find frequently that monitors were going off and not being responded to. Now again, being a PA and having a baby who is sick, I know that when the babies move, those monitors can go off, and they'll be, because they're not registering anymore. However, there were times that I was concerned and would kind of go over and look and make sure that the baby was breathing.
So if you were to give advice to a NICU nurse, like from a mom, or as a mom, I mean, you had a phenomenal outcome with Allison, and you know, I know that your job went on long after you took her home. So if you were to say to a NICU, say a team of nurses sitting here, what's the one thing that your parents want that might be missing? Is there any one thing in particular?
Well, not one thing. I think just in general, I think that somehow in layman's terms, parents should be aware of what the nurses are aware of. I think that is important, because you'll hear one nurse talking to the other nurse about, you know, whatever, some culture came back, or, I mean, I understand some parents might be, you know, might be getting themselves all worked up over nothing, but when you and I have blood work done, you know, we have a right to know what our cholesterol was, what our total protein was, because it's our business, it's our bodies. So I think it would be simple to, again, in layman's terms, just give updates on what's going on with their baby, because I really feel in general you're kind of in the dark, and you get the feeling that nurses, and they're busy. I mean, they're crazy busy, nonstop. But I always felt like I was being a nuisance, and I do know that I was overbearing, but I always felt like that, and I think I witnessed other parents feeling that way as well. Just think.
So there is a new trend towards inviting parents into rounds, and I think that's been very well received. That wasn't happening when your baby was there, but is that something you would like to see?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think if the neonatal team could somehow give a clause that, you know, provided things go well, that they would continue to be invited on rounds. I think that there could be parents who, you know, it might make their whole experience worse, they get more anxious or what have you, but if things were said like that, if there's a problem, you will no longer be able to, but we would like to invite you to be able to, I think that would be wonderful. I think it would, overall, I think the babies would even do well, because the parents would be more informed and they'd be more comfortable about what is going on, and the communication. I just think they wouldn't feel so in the dark, because you really do feel, I mean, you're putting the life of your child in the hands of these nurses
Right.
who are going through all kinds of personal turmoil themselves. People are dying, they're getting married, they're having babies. I mean,
And you've heard all of that.
yeah, there's a lot going on in their lives. So despite the fact that you have to hear that as a parent, which I think you're going to hear no matter where you work, but despite the fact that you have to hear that, I think parents would be more open to hearing it and not so negatively affected if there was that sort of team approach,
Mhm.
including a parent.
Mhm.
These are parents who are going to have to care for the baby once the baby goes home. I think they should be overly informed.
Yeah, I think it has been our experience that information is always helpful. It said something. I can edit this. Thank God. There was something it said.
Not about rounds.
No. It was. There was something you said when you said that ultimately the baby does better when the parents are less anxious. So and I think that's important because to hear from parents that they know that when their anxiety was lower that they were able to be more present to their baby. And healthcare providers, I'm not sure really always understand that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the focus is on the child and not so much on, the parents or anxiety that the parents are going through. So it sounds like it's a testament from you that you felt like you were more present to Allison when you weren't so anxious.
When I researched and felt comfortable about what was going on, absolutely. When you start doing kangaroo care and the baby is on your chest, you've got all of your central nervous system fight or flight stuff going on, and babies feel that. They can hear your heart rate, they can feel your respirations, and I think once you start doing that, you want your focus to be on bonding with your baby, not on what was her count today, what was that culture, did it come back positive? I mean, if you know that sort of in some sort of briefing, like rounds beforehand, and you were reassured and you weren't left in the dark, I think as a parent you're more hands-on and you're more comfortable, and babies are going to do better in the duration, not just the NICU stay, not just get out of the NICU sooner and all those statistics that we know about, but actually do better in the long run because all of your parent skills are established in the NICU. You take that out when you have your baby, you go to all of these specialists, and you want to be equally as informed when you're seeing the specialist. So informed parents, I think, can care for their children better.
Well, I really appreciate you doing this. How is Allison now? She's 12?
She's doing great. She's 12 years old. She's in 6th grade. She's a straight A student. We just got her grades back. She plays the piano with vim and vigor, and she has just really gotten into soccer.
Oh, great.
This is like her 3rd or 4th year, but she just gets it now.
Oh, we'll have to get a picture of her in her soccer outfit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.